I forgot with my morning class. I'll have to. So here's a funny challenge that Mrs. Goldring wants me to put out to you guys. So I guess I'll put it in the video. So YouTube sent me an email saying like, hey, you're not cool enough. We're gonna take away all opportunity to monetize your channel, and you're gonna lose certain accesses, which I don't really care about. But Mrs. Goldring is like, I wonder, because we were just sitting around joking. I was like, you know the way I get. So they said, because I don't have 4,000 hours of viewership, people that have watched my videos, that I can't, I can't get the thing. So I don't care at all if you do this. So we have a month. According to YouTube, I have a month to make 4,000 hours. I'm going to pause it. This cannot impact your academics. If you feel like on your own time, I don't care. But Mrs. Goldring's like, I bet with a school full of kids, we could actually get you there. I don't care whatsoever. Okay?
I do.
We
I
told
do.
you
Right.
While we're watching
Yeah.
it differently.
Yeah, that's what Mrs. Goldring was saying. She's like, they can just put it on and mute it. So,
Wonderful idea.
when we talk about growth patterns, and guys, we're going to keep coming back. I was tutoring a Math 1 student last night, and we're talking about growth patterns. Like, we keep coming back to this, right? When we're doing growth patterns, we talk about figure 0. What does that mean? What does figure 0 mean? Well,
Figure 0 is the figure that like starts off the entire thing out. But it's the figure that we start adding blocks onto. It's a very good job.
okay. So, it's the figure before we've ever added anything, is what you mean, right? So it's the thing that then gets added to it.
The original. The OG.
Saying original is kind of difficult, though. Because would, like, figure 1 be the original, or figure 0, which is actually before something starts? So that, in your, like, you kind of have to make that decision on your own of what you're going to think. Piper?
It's wise how you do when X is at 0 is.
When we talk about this graphically, it is the start value when y is 0, or sorry, when x is 0, the y value when x is 0. So when we look at a graph, it is where it intersects. So work together as a team. The more we listen to each other, or really your partners right now, but if you want to get in bigger teams, you can. The more we'll know about by the end of the lesson. Stick together. Be sure to talk through each idea. Every person on his or her own paper into this activity, showing 4 complete representations for each pattern. Now, the ways we can represent it. So 4 ways. Kind of don't even want to scroll as far as it. How do? Yeah, you already saw it. So table. The figure, like the representations of blocks, what it looks like. Graph of, x and y, giving them values. What is x? What is y? Like y might be how many blocks. X might be how many figures. And an expression, a rule. So here's your 4 ways. What it looks like, right? The figure that we see. A table of what we have. The graph of what we have. Or the rule for what we have. Like 3x plus 5 or something like that. So, we are, and I'm kind of skipping around. No, I'm going to give you a few minutes. Try to define rules or try to get more for A, B, C, and D. So if they've given you the representation in the graph, you need to make the table and the rule. If they give you the rule and the graph, you need to try to draw it in a way which yours might be different than theirs, might be different than theirs, right? What you picture it as, and then make a table. Right, so whatever it's missing, fill in. Does that make sense? I have a lot of faces that are like scrunchy. Yeah, that sort of work. And if you already did 4-on-5 homework, then yeah, totally, of course. So in your book, if you forget what 4 ways, here's your 4 ways. The rule is the equation, right? Pattern, table, and graph.
So, are you completely and utterly positive and sure that this number is number 10?
Oh, yes.
Can we have like one more figure?
Can we have some extra help?
Oh my god. Wow.
Now you need to use your book.
There you go. Oh, the other thing I meant to do. Sorry, while I was sitting here, I want to show you your test.
Oh
What do you mean, oh God?
Gosh,
I'm scared.
Well, that sounds like a bad. Well, thank you.
Oh, you got
Not really fixed. I made it less sharp. You go, Caleb. Sweet.
super epic mug.
Hey, so I'm gonna give you like half of class to work through the like those A, B, C, D. Maybe, I mean, if we get done with it earlier than that, we won't need to. But so while this is loading up, you could have been working on that stuff like Bilal and Annie. But here's the test. Hey, here's the test that if we start tomorrow, we will be starting tomorrow.
I love the diamond.
So hold on, let me get
The
the
diamonds are
focus
so fun.
Alright, so, hey, in order to do this, I need you guys not talking with each other while we do this and not writing. Because I need to know that I can show you the test and you're not like as fast as possible trying to write things down so you can go Google it later. Trust me, I'll know whether you actually process through the problem or not. It's easy to figure that out. I never thought it would be, but it's pretty easy to know how much you actually thought about it or not. So complete magic diamond or whatever you call that diamond. I like to call it magic diamond. But we have a table given to us years a plant or years you've had the plant, tomatoes that it has produced, and then some questions about that. Assuming this continues at a current rate, make a rule for it. How many tomatoes will be picked 15 years in? And when, if ever, would it produce 300 tomatoes? So defining like what's your X and what's your Y, and how do you make a rule, and how do you work with that? Tile patterns, go figure. Get it? Go figure. Some people don't get it, that's the funny thing.
I get it.
Okay, sorry, this should focus up. There we go. So, Bert has a tile pattern. He needs your help. Are the representations correct? If so, justify. If not, justify. So your work today is directly going to impact this tomorrow and might impact whether you want to take the test or not. So Sante, not Santi, Sante, has this figure set. Hey guys, remember I asked like we're not talking, we're not ready. So, and then wrote this equation. So draw an arrow on the web indicating what connection. That's a pretty straightforward one. Graph. Notice your graph isn't going to be big enough to figure out if that's a yes or a no, so you got to figure it out another way. Working with the algebra tiles. for the diagram. What is it? Write the equation. Remember, the 2 lines down the middle means they're equal. Yes, I cut my finger. Calculate the area and ooh. This one I like a lot. And there's a question on your homework tonight directly related to this sort of problem. Calculate the area and perimeter of this object.
I'm so mad.
So that is a complex figure, a figure made up of other figures or pieces.
It's called a spherical sector and a square combined.
Sure. Not a spherical sector, though, because it's not a sphere. Remember, a sphere is 3-dimensional. Circular sector?
Can you just give us the square?
No. Nope.
Take out that circle part. We'll be good.
Don't you know?
So, back to work on those rules, those representations. Graph paper is very convenient. We will check back in on these in a few minutes.
I'm the one.
Okay, what's a castle? What is that?
This.
Oh. Figure 1?
Okay, so
Let's start with figure 3.
it starts
Okay, 9 plus 4 is 13. Wait, that's m times x.
You have to cheat.
Huh?
You ever cheat like
Cheat what?
Could you
My government class, yeah.
look it over and like what they want to do?
Looked out my wife. Back then, she loved you just like you can't grasp. She's smarter than me.
So your wife is smarter than you?
Oh, yeah, she is.
Go teach her how to do it.
So it gives you a figure and a graph.
My dad
So you're
What's your professor? You said a red light.
So I would probably make it first.
Hey, to clarify what we're doing.
That word needs to be in
To clarify what we're doing. Yeah, you're totally right. I can't count today, apparently. So, this gives us the figure, like the representation, and the graph. Now, this graph isn't great because it doesn't have very many grid lines. As opposed to this, it also has the dotted lines that help me out. But I can figure out what this point is. Because figure 3 is over here. How many blocks does figure 3 use?
13.
What? 9 plus, yeah, it's 9 plus 4. It's actually 13, guys. So I thought somebody had corrected me, but it is 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 more, 13.
You can
We also know what?
what?
What else do we know? What else does the graph show?
Oh, yeah.
This figure 0 has 3 blocks.
No, it doesn't. That doesn't go through 3.
No, 4. That's 4 blocks.
I still don't know that for sure.
Wait.
No, figure 0 has 1 block. Right?
What? No.
Sit.
It has
Yes.
4. It has 4.
Why, give me your attention, why do you think it shows me this? Or slope.
Yeah.
When it shows me the change behavior, that's telling me that the slope or the change in y compared to the change in x is 3 compared to 1.
Oh.
Every time x moves 1, y moves 3.
I was right.
So this point will be 2 if y goes down by 3, it'll be 10.
Our entire graph is wrong.
This point will be 1, comma, 7, and this
Dang it.
will be 0, 4.
Oh my god. Oh.
Now we write the rule, the blocks used, or my y values. How much do my blocks change by each time? 3
X plus. What's B though? I know
plus
4.
4. It's the y-intercept.
So
It is the value of y when x is 0.
Got it, thank you.
Why?
Wait, how did you get the 13?
Because over here, I counted 13 blocks.
Oh, okay.
That's because I know it's figure 3, so I just counted how many blocks
Oh,
I
yeah.
had to be able to connect that with my graph. Yeah.
How do you know that that's like 1 and 7?
Because I use this stair step. So imagine that you're on a flight of stairs. You know that every stair is the same step. And you know your height right now, and you're going to start going down the stairs. Right? As I go down a step, I go down 3 over 1. That tells me that here. So if I know that this is 13 because that figure has 13 blocks, then I go down 3 as I go over 1, and I end up at 2, 10, down 3 over 1, 1, 7, down 3 over 0, 4. I don't really like that graph because it doesn't have the grid lines. It's hard to see.
Yeah, but the next one's even.
No, the next one's confusing. I don't get it.
Next one I didn't get.
All right, so if you want to process this together, I'm just going to ask all questions, right? You got it, like, I'll help you, but I'm just asking questions. I'm going to throw that up on the TV.
That works. That's kind of tell us stuff, and then ask us questions about stuff.
And these are rules that we can figure everything out. No, but B is different because B is just
B
I don't
has
know.
an x-intercept. It has a negative y for an x. What?
No, he showed me what happened. It's like
All right, I'm going to show you exactly what I did with my Math 1 student last night. So I tutored 3 different kids, Math 1, Math 2, and Math 3. And what's interesting is that gives me the opportunity to see where the skills we're practicing now go in like 2 or 3 years. Yeah, so I'm going to help you guys with these. What is the the value or the location of this point? 431, right? Thank you. We should be pretty good at identifying the x and the y. And the next point, what's that?
758 or I think what is it?
Above your 2 points that you just wrote down in your notes because you're following along with me. We're going to figure out what the change in y is. And below, we're going to figure out what the change in x is. I think that one's pretty easy.
It's 3 and then it's 27. Yep, I knew that.
So, the reason I set it up like this is when we go to look at slope, slope is the y over the x. I've already got y over x. And it is not.
What did you do?
No, this one
What?
says
Wait.
Wait. Okay, so
What did you do? Y minus 27?
why?
Did y go up or go down? Y went up, didn't my line's going up. Our slope has to be positive because it's going up. What this tells me is exactly what the last one showed.
Oh, okay.
As x goes 1, this goes 9. As x goes another 1, this goes another 9. As x goes another 1, that goes another 9. So now I know that my equation is going to involve y equals 9x. But the issue is, crap, what?
Oh, it's a negative. What?
So your table, say we want to go down, we have 4 and 31, right? To go down to 3, how much does my y go down?
9.
So what do I get?
2. I knew that.
Minus 9 again to get to 2. Minus 9 to get to 1.
I found it.
Minus 9 to get to 0.
-5.
So my equation becomes 9x minus 5. Or plus -5, but that's not very clean, so we would normally just make it then minus 5.
And now we have to draw.
Yeah, I never.
And every time I just trying to understand, you just throw another thing at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like C, where it's like, wait, we have figure 3 and then figure 8.
Figure 8 has 2 tiles. But the,
Yes.
but the
So
B
it's
is
going
12.
down. It started at a higher number.
Are we good here
Yeah.
for B?
Oh, so 0 is positive 10.
Yeah.
That's a different 10.
Can I do that?
No.
This
Do that, maybe.
Figure number,
You can
right?
write
Number of
Oh, yeah.
tiles. Like I would like to have 4 or 5, 6, but I don't. Right now, can I figure out the change in Y? Can I figure out the change in X? Do so. Alex, what's up?
It would be negative 10 over 5.
Negative 10 because we went down. Positive 5 because we went up. That makes our slope negative 2.
What?
So, as I take a step forward, I lose 2 tiles. As I take another step, I lose 2 tiles. So, at the beginning, I start with a collection of tiles. Right, we don't know what it looks like. Step, drop 2. Step, drop 2. So, as I go backwards, what behavior would happen if instead of moving forward, we're adding 2. So, figure number 2 would have figure 1, figure 0, which makes my equation questions. I guarantee we have questions. 4.
How did you get negative 2? What?
So what specific part is messing you up?
Did you divide 12 by 6 to get? Are you asking
how we got,
got
No.
negative
Do you, stop, please. Do you understand how we got delta Y? The numerator. See, there we go. So we got to dig in to figure out where the issue's coming from. The only things we're given to start are these, thanks to that, that part. Are you good with how I got my 8-2 on the table? This, because we always talk about figure number is X and number of tiles is Y. This is my change in Y. But if I go from 12 to 2, then I also have to go from 3 to 8. The order matters, right? If I go down the table, I go down the table. So I subtract 10 here for the Y. I add 5 for the X. Because those are the only 2 things we know.
Also, it's not like that thing where if you do one thing one time, you do the same thing on the other. That's something completely different.
Correct. That's when you work with an equation. This is looking for the rule of what is the change, like what is the behavior happening. So now are you good on how we got the delta Y, delta X? When we do that division, that just produces our slope. The slope always fits into our slope-intercept form equation in the M spot. We can fill that in, but we still didn't know the B. But knowing that every step forward we take, we lose 2 tiles, means every step backwards I take, I gain 2. So then we started taking steps backwards.
B is like, and Y is figured for 0.
Yep.
So Y has to be 0.
So imagine Y is before you took any steps. I have 18 tiles. I take a step and I drop 2. I take step 2, I drop 2 more. I take step every time I take a so 0 is before we started. Right? It's like when you planted the plant.
Yeah, I get it.
So science fair is happening right now, right? If I'm doing science fair on does playing rock music for my plants affect their growth, and I'm going to track growth, I would dirt, seed in the dirt, that is 0. I just started. If I have a day pass and I look for that's 1. That's figure 1, right? Hey, something happened. Time passed. A step was taken. Whatever happened, when you put the seed in the dirt, that's 0. Right? Nothing has happened yet. No time has passed. And D, I think we could build a table and stuff. When it gives us the rule, when it gives us the equation, it tends to be easier to figure out. Because we could just plug in 0, plug in 1, plug in 2. Whatever it is, we can plug in for the x. Questions? No, it's good. That's really good. Is it making sense for everyone? Rule for the change. How much we have when we start, or before we start, quote unquote. So, with a little under 15 minutes left, let's look at 416. And you do not have to get this homework done tonight. What? Oop. I can't hear you. Yeah. You're like my wife. When I say what and she mumbles it softly again, what do you think what means? What, louder, please? So I started saying, excuse me, I can't hear you. Yeah, well, correct. And also, a lot of people say what when they actually did hear it, but they need time to process. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Somebody will say what, and before you have time to repeat yourself, they answer your,
I've done that so many times.
Sometimes I say what instinctively. I know what they say. No, I say and then I say what I was going to say.
You should really say excuse me instead of huh. Alright, it tells me the rule. For any x, I can find my y with negative 3x plus 7. So if my x is 1, I could plug in a 1 here. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Plus 7 makes 4. I can check it on my graph. I know that to be true. I could also have started at 0, and my graph shows me this very easily. How many y do I have when my x is 0? 7. Now I really wish that I had put 0 above the 1. But then if we look at 2, we could plug in a 2 here. We get 1. Now I'm going to really quickly move this around to make it easier for you guys to see. I should have done this from the get-go. My apologies. What do you see happening? Tyler. Take away 3 every step we take. So without even using the equation now anymore, what's my value of y at 3 going to be?
-2.
Or? -5. And we can keep going. Now, if they asked you, what's the value of term 27? Then you want to use the equation, take your term, plug it in, and solve it mathematically. But if you're just looking for, what are the first 5 terms or something like that, you can just kind of build the table as you go. And then I think by now, we could all draw the web. And if given any piece of it, you need to be able to build or create or whatever you want to say the other parts of the web. Make sense? Yeah. Sorry, I had really lofty goals this week. It's okay. It's not like you guys. It's the first time through CPM, right? So sorry that I've stacked up homeworks and stuff. 416 is going to be as far as we go this week, and we're going to have to finish it next week. So please don't stress out over the weekend about trying to get that done. If you have 415 done by the time we get back on Monday, you're good. 416, if you start it, awesome, wonderful. So we're going to dive into about 10 minutes in 416, but don't think that means you have to do the homework. We're already behind this year. Because I need to try to be wrapped with this chapter by early next week. Yeah, I'm already behind. Graphing and rules and behavior change and stuff. So all we're doing is taking that knowledge base and extending it. So I will help you with A, and then I'm going to have you guys do B through F on your own. Yeah, actually I'm going to help you with C. Now I'm going to help you with F. Sorry. The A, B, D, and E are nice because they have all the grid lines, so I'm going to help you with one of the more difficult ones.
Can you just help us
What's
with
the
both
problem?
C and F?
No.
What's the problem?
54. When building these equations, all of them will be in the form y equals mx plus b. Now, there is an opportunity for m to be 0 or b to be 0. Like, those are numbers, right? They could fill in. If there's no growth, no change, that could be 0. If there's no y-intercept, like if it is at 0, that'll be 0. And it'll just disappear. Yeah.
What would... Never mind.
You saying what would the equation of like a horizontal line be?
No. I was thinking, what would M and B be? Yeah, that works. If it was proportional and it went through.
Oh, if it's proportional, there's no b.
Oh.
That's how it can equal 0, is because b is when x equals 0. So when you have 0, you have 0.
Oh, if you go through the origin, would that be an x intersection or y intersection?
Both.
Either.
Both.
Or both.
So this has nothing to do with b. I just thought she was going to ask what would a horizontal line equation be. If y never changes, y is always the same. So if we had a horizontal line at 3, y is always 3, and your equation is y is 3.
There's no M.
In F, and then I'm going to give you guys the rest of the time to work on this, and we'll pick this up next week. M is slope, change, how y changes as x changes. B is y-intercept, where the line hits the y. It tells me the y-intercept very easily. It's 12. I then have to figure out my slope based off the change in y compared to the change in x. So it's negative 4 over 1, which is just negative 4, negative 4x plus 12. You have plenty of time to get the other 5 of these done.
What? You just do C.
That's F.
Sorry, I was doing A.
So that's negative 4. It got really close and it looks connected. That's a negative 4.
Yeah. I like finding rules. Okay, let's see. I understand.
What? Math is exciting. Don't judge us.
Yeah, I think so too, because it helps you quickly be able to find stuff.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 4. So 1 is 4.
Oh, yeah.
Why are we?
Okay, so then B, oh, we just find it. Oh, we don't find it.
Oh, no.
No, I was
Why is pi x So you know what pi is, yet you don't know what pi is. I'm upset at whatever the previous teacher said.
Y is 2x plus
So they find 1 for yada yada yada, right? You're going to be on the date.
No.
I mean, it's 8 times.
No.
3.
No.
What's
Your hair's coming out.
That's for 1.
You have 5 minutes.
Well, we're not so close. If you go quick, we'll be back for answers. Just say
Why
I
would-
missed the answers.